It's a powerful question, isn't it? One that causes us to pause and consider the path we're on. You see, life is more than just the accumulation of years, possessions, and titles. Life in its truest form is the legacy we carve in the hearts of others and the values we etch into eternity. The real scoreboard is not here. It's in the unseen, and it keeps track of things we often overlook: kindness given without expectation, love extended in hard times, discipline embraced when it would have been easy to drift, and truth spoken when silence was safer. It's a powerful question, isn't it? One that causes us to pause and consider the path we're on. Are you building a life that heaven will remember? That's not just poetic language. It's a serious question that reaches far deeper than we often allow ourselves to go. Most people are too busy surviving the day to reflect on the kind of legacy they're creating, too focused on tasks and deadlines and notifications to ask themselves whether what they're doing today has eternal weight. But that's what matters most, because life is not just about the moments we can count. It's about the moments that count beyond our time. Life is more than just living for today. It's about living in such a way that when the dust settles and the noise fades, something meaningful remains. The truth is, every decision we make, every word we speak, every attitude we carry, it's all building something. It's laying the foundation for a structure. Some people are constructing palaces of pride that look good from the outside but are hollow within. Others are slowly, faithfully, quietly building temples of substance, lives that reflect truth, integrity, love, and sacrifice. And the remarkable part is, those are the lives that leave a mark not just here but in places beyond time. You don't need to be known by the world to be known by heaven. The applause of the crowd is temporary, but the echo of a righteous decision resounds for eternity. The spotlight fades, trophies gather dust, but the legacy of a life lived well continues to influence, to inspire, and to speak even when you are no longer in the room. The way you live matters, not just to you, not just to your family, not just to your community, but to the bigger picture, to the divine design you're part of, whether you realize it or not. You were created with purpose, for purpose. And the tragedy is not failure. The real tragedy is success at the wrong assignment. You can be winning at the wrong game. You can have more money, more titles, more things, and still be building a life that disappears the moment you're gone. So the question becomes, what are you actually building? Are you investing in things that have lasting value? Are you pouring into people, into purpose, into values that will outlive you? There's something sacred about the daily decisions. We tend to think that legacy is built in the big moments, the speeches, the celebrations, the milestones. But more often, legacy is formed in the quiet, in the consistency, in the integrity of small choices that no one sees, in the work you do when no one is watching, in the way you treat people who can do nothing for you, in the words you speak when you could easily remain silent. That's where the true blueprint of your life is being drawn. That's where heaven takes notice. And while the world might not recognize those moments, might not post about them, might not reward them, those moments matter more than we know. People often ask what they can do to live a life of meaning, and the answer isn't complicated. It's not in trying to be someone else. It's in becoming fully who you were made to be. It's in showing up with excellence, with purpose, with humility. It's in taking responsibility for your own growth, for your own choices, and refusing to blame the world or your past for where you are. You were given time, talents, and opportunities, not just for your own benefit, but to make a difference in the lives of others, to help build something that outlasts you. Whether you lead a nation or nurture one child, whether you build companies or build character, whether you speak on platforms or speak into one life, if you do it with love, with truth, with integrity, you're building something heaven remembers. The danger in modern life is distraction. We are surrounded by noise, so much information, so much pressure to succeed, to fit in, to go faster. But it's possible to be moving fast in the wrong direction. It's possible to be busy and still be empty. The pace of your life doesn't determine the impact of it. What matters, your direction, your purpose, your intention. That's why reflection is so important, not just to ask where you're going, but why. What's driving you? Is it fear? Is it comparison? Or is it vision, calling, and conviction? Because if it's not rooted in those deeper things, the structure won't stand when the storms come, and they will come. Life will test what you've built. It always does. But when you build with truth, when you live with conviction, when your actions line up with your values, then you're not just existing, you're creating something of eternal significance. You don't have to be famous to be remembered in heaven. That's the beautiful thing about purpose. It's not measured the way the world measures success. In a world that elevates status, titles, and image, heaven looks at substance, the quiet sacrifices, the moments of kindness that go unnoticed, the times you chose patience over frustration, forgiveness over bitterness, generosity over greed. Those are the moments that carry eternal weight. A simple act done with pure intention echoes far beyond what we can see. And the truth is, many of the people who make the most impact are not the ones with their names and lights. They're the ones behind the scenes, showing up every day with consistency, with heart, with humility. They may not be celebrated here, but they are known in eternity. They are building something eternal. Every single day you are laying a brick in the structure of your life, and the question is not whether you're building something, it's what you're building and how. Are you building with wisdom, with patience, with vision? Or are you throwing bricks with no blueprint, reacting to life instead of designing it? The life you're creating isn't shaped in a single decision. It's shaped in 1,000 small decisions repeated over time. The decision to tell the truth when a lie would be easier. The choice to do what's right instead of what's popular. The discipline to do what must be done even when you don't feel like doing it. These are the things that define your character, and your character is the framework that supports everything else. The people who build lives that heaven remembers are the ones who understand the power of obedience. Not obedience to rules, but to purpose, to calling, to the quiet whisper that tells you to take the high road, to be generous, to stand firm in your values even when the world calls you foolish. It takes strength to live that way. It takes focus to keep your eyes on what matters most when distractions are everywhere. But it's worth it, because the life you build today determines the legacy you leave tomorrow. And legacy isn't about what people say about you when you're gone. It's about the ripple effect your life creates while you're still here. There's a tendency to believe that our worth is tied to the magnitude of our results. That if we're not doing something big, something visible, then we're not doing something meaningful. But that's not how the divine keeps score. You may never stand on a stage. You may never write a book or lead a company. But if you live with integrity, if you love well, if you give your best in every task, no matter how small, you are building something that matters. Heaven sees the effort no one else sees. The discipline it takes to stay faithful in obscurity. The courage it takes to keep going when no one is cheering. The grace it takes to treat others with compassion when you're carrying your own burdens. These are the invisible victories that shape the soul. The most valuable things in life cannot be bought or sold. You can't buy integrity. You can't fake character. You can't shortcut patience or loyalty or wisdom. These things must be cultivated, ground through experience, shaped by failure, strengthened by time. That's why some of the richest people in the world are not the ones with the most money. They're the ones with the most peace, the ones who have clarity, conviction, and a calm confidence that comes from knowing they are walking in purpose. They don't need applause to validate their choices because they know who they are and what they're building. Their eyes are on a higher goal, a deeper mission, a longer game. You are not responsible for the outcome of every situation, but you are responsible for your effort, your attitude, and your choices. The harvest will come, but only if you keep planning. That's why faithfulness matters. Not just faith in something bigger, but faith in the process. Faith that doing good today matters, even if no one sees it. That becoming better today matters, even if it feels slow. That choosing humility today matters, even if pride would feel better. These choices build something that can't be taken from you, and more importantly, they build something that can't be erased by time. The foundation you build your life on will determine how high it can go and how strong it can stand. If your foundation is built on values that don't move, on truth that doesn't shift with culture, on love that doesn't fade with seasons, then no storm will shake what you've built. And while others may chase success that disappears, you'll be anchored in something that lasts, something that grows deeper with time. Not just taller. Something that not only shapes your future, but inspires others to build their own lives with purpose, with courage, and with a heart that reaches beyond this world. Most people think legacy is something you leave behind. But the truth is, legacy is what you live out every day. It's not the stories people tell after you're gone. It's the story you're writing right now through your actions, your choices, your responses, and your convictions. Legacy doesn't begin with a eulogy. It begins the moment you decide to live intentionally. And intentional living doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness, honesty, and the willingness to align your daily habits with your highest values. You don't build a meaningful life by accident. You build it through commitment, through repetition, through consistency, through a willingness to choose purpose over comfort and principles over convenience. Every day, in ways you might not even realize, you are planting seeds. The tone you use when you speak to others, the way you treat someone when they can do nothing for you, the attitude you bring to difficult situations. These seeds grow into something, and the harvest reveals what kind of legacy you've been creating all along. The beautiful part about legacy is that it's never too late to start shaping it, no matter what's behind you. You still have the power to choose what's ahead of you. The past may explain you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can choose right now to begin building with different materials. Maybe you've spent years building out of fear, building out of insecurity, building out of the need to be accepted or approved. But when you shift your motive to one of truth, love, service, and wisdom, everything changes. The weight lifts, the focus sharpens, and your efforts start aligning with something higher than yourself. Suddenly, you're not just working for success, you're working for significance. You're not just focused on what you can gain, but on what you can give. You're not just trying to look good, you're trying to be good. And that kind of internal shift, that's what turns an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. Legacy is built in the mundane moments, not the grand ones. It's built when you wake up early to honor your responsibilities, when you choose to speak with kindness even though you're tired, when you follow through on your word when it would be easier to quit. It's built when you decide to face your own flaws rather than blame others for your discomfort. It's built when you take the time to develop patience, to grow in humility, to forgive even when the other person doesn't apologize. These are the bricks of a legacy that lasts. These are the moments when heaven pays attention. Not because you're being noticed by others, but because you're living with a sense of responsibility that reaches beyond the present moment. People who build a life that heaven remembers don't wait for permission. They don't wait until everything is perfect, until they have all the answers, until they feel ready. They begin where they are with what they have, and they do the best they can every day. They don't measure their worth by how much applause they get, but by how much value they create. They understand that living well isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most consistent one. It's about showing up with purpose and doing the work even when no one is watching, because they know that the real scoreboard is invisible. The rewards may not show up on the outside right away, but something is being formed on the inside. Strength, character, depth, wisdom, these things are not flashy, but they are foundational. There's a kind of strength that can't be faked. It comes from walking through seasons of hardship and not losing your faith. It comes from choosing grace when resentment would be easier. It comes from honoring your values when no one else seems to be honoring theirs. That kind of strength may not always be celebrated, but it is remembered not just by people, but in the places that matter most. That's what it means to build a life that heaven remembers. It means choosing to live by a different standard, to measure your days not by how much you got done, but by how well you live, to pursue peace over popularity, to embrace discipline when distractions come calling, to stay rooted in purpose even when circumstances try to shake your confidence. It's not about being perfect, it's about being principled. It's not about impressing others, it's about impacting others, and the people who live this way, they might not always be recognized by the world, but they are recognized in ways that matter. Their lives become light for others. Their words become guideposts, their work becomes a testimony, their example becomes a mirror that helps others see what's possible when you live with truth at the center. That's how legacies are shaped, not by trying to be remembered, but by deciding to matter, not by seeking attention, but by seeking alignment with the kind of life that resonates far beyond our brief time here. There are two types of builders in life, those who build monuments to themselves and those who build bridges to others. One is focused on image recognition and applause. The other is focused on service, impact, and connection. One seeks to be remembered by the world. The other lives to be known by heaven. The truth is, anyone can make noise for a moment, but very few leave a lasting sound that echoes through generations. It's not about how loud you are or how visible your life is. It's about the depth of your character and the integrity behind your actions. When you live with the intention to serve rather than to shine, your life begins to take on a different kind of strength, a quieter, deeper, more enduring strength that's not dependent on approval but anchored in purpose. When you look at a person who builds a life that heaven remembers, you'll often notice they're not the ones in a rush. They're not racing from task to task, desperate to check off boxes. They're deliberate, thoughtful. They move with purpose. They listen more than they speak. They reflect before they react. They give even when it's inconvenient. Their strength is quiet, but it's firm. It comes from having their foundation rooted in something greater than circumstances or status. They're not chasing attention. They're fulfilling a calling. And the work they do might never be celebrated on earth, but it's seen where it matters most. Every sacrifice they make in love, every stand they take for truth, every time they choose grace over anger. Heaven is watching. The thing about bridges is that they don't get built overnight. They take time. They require effort. They demand planning and patience and consistent effort. You can't rush a strong foundation. In the same way, building a life that brings lasting impact doesn't happen in one grand gesture. It happens brick by brick. The way you talk to people, the way you make decisions under pressure, the way you handle success, the way you respond to failure. Every single moment matters. And while the world may be focused on speed and spotlight, those who are truly wise focus on depth and direction. They aren't trying to get somewhere fast. They're trying to go far and to bring others with them. There's a temptation to believe that success is found in what you can gather, but real success is found in what you can give. That's the difference between a monument and a bridge. A monument says, look at me. A bridge says, come with me. A monument ends where it stands. A bridge leads somewhere greater than itself. The people who change lives aren't always the loudest or the most followed. They're the ones who give their time when it's costly, who encourage when no one asks, who carry burdens that aren't their own. They're not doing it to earn favor or to be seen. They're doing it because they understand that meaning comes from service. Fulfillment comes from contribution. And that's where real purpose begins to grow. The world will try to sell you a picture of success that's rooted in achievement and possessions. But the truth is, the deepest joy you'll ever experience will come from knowing your life helped someone else, that you made the path easier for someone behind you, that you showed compassion when others walked away, that you were faithful even when no one clapped, that you stood for something true even when it cost you something. These are the things that heaven records, not the size of your platform, but the strength of your heart. Not the total in your account, but the total you gave when it counted. Not the positions you held, but the people you lifted. It takes courage to build a life like that, to live counter to the culture. To walk with values when it's easier to drift, to hold your standards when it would be easier to lower them. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. And the people who live this way aren't just doing it for themselves. They're thinking generationally. They understand that the impact of their life will reach beyond them, into their children, their communities, their work, their faith. They're not chasing moments, they're shaping futures. And it's not done by accident. It's done by waking up every day and choosing to build on the things that last. There are moments when the cost of doing what's right will feel high. You might feel alone. You might wonder if it's worth it. But in those moments, remember that you're not building for applause. You're building for legacy. And legacy doesn't shout. It whispers over time. It leaves fingerprints on hearts. It leaves examples for others to follow. It leaves stories that inspire people to live differently, to build differently, to love more deeply, to rise with more strength. Because when you build a life that points beyond you, a life anchored in truth and service and goodness, that life becomes unforgettable, not just here, but in the places that last forever. What are you building? What materials are you using? Because the storms will come and they'll test the structure. They'll reveal whether you built with straw or with stone. Life has a way of revealing the truth about your foundation. It doesn't ask for your permission. It simply exposes what's there. And when that happens, when the winds rise and the pressure hits, you won't be able to hide behind surface level success. What you built in secret will be made visible. What you built slowly, consistently, with care and discipline will stand. But what was built on shortcuts, on ego, on image will crumble. That's not meant to bring fear. It's meant to bring clarity, because you still have time to build well. You still have time to make adjustments, to tear down what won't last and start again with better tools, stronger values, deeper roots. The good news is you don't have to get everything right to build a life that heaven remembers. What matters is the direction you're heading. Are you building with truth or with trends? Are you making decisions based on principles or pressure? Are you spending your time chasing applause? Or are you doing the kind of quiet, faithful work that shapes real character? These are the questions that matter, because when all the noise fades and all the distractions quiet down, what's left is who you really are and what you've really been constructing all this time. You can't build something lasting if you're always reacting. You have to build with intention. You have to decide every single day who you want to become and what kind of impact you want to make. The world will offer you endless detours, comfort, compromise, distractions, shortcuts, but none of them will lead you to the kind of life that leaves a mark. The life that heaven remembers is one that resists the pull of what's easy in favor of what's meaningful. It's the life that refuses to settle for surface when depth is possible. It's the life that holds fast to integrity even when it costs something in the short term. There's a weight that comes with living this way, a sense of responsibility, but it's not a burden, it's a calling. When you start building with eternity in mind, your perspective changes. You stop measuring your worth by temporary results. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. You realize that your life is not just about what you can achieve, but about who you can become. And the becoming is a process. It's forged in discipline and discomfort. In the quiet moments where no one's watching and you choose to do what's right anyway, every choice is a building block. How you handle temptation, how you respond to criticism, how you speak to people who can't benefit you, how you steward your time, your resources, your energy, all of it matters. And when you start to see your life as a construction site for something sacred, you begin to treat each moment with more reverence. You begin to ask different questions. Not what do I feel like doing today, but what will bring me closer to the life I'm trying to build. Not what's easiest, but what's worth it. That shift in thinking becomes the difference between a life that crumbles under pressure and a life that stands tall no matter what comes. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they build without vision. They never stop to ask why they're doing what they're doing. They work hard, but not wisely. They chase results without checking the blueprint. But when you live with vision, you don't just work, you build. You don't just act, you align. You don't just hope for success, you aim for significance. And you begin to realize that every ordinary day is a chance to lay another stone in the structure of a life that matters. And what's amazing is that even the smallest actions can have eternal weight. A conversation, a choice to forgive, a moment of patience, a gesture of generosity. None of these things will make headlines, but they are the foundation of lives that influence others long after the moment is gone. They're the kind of things that no one claps for, but heaven notices. They are the secret architecture of a meaningful life. You may not see the full result of what you're building right away. That's okay. You're not building for speed, you're building for strength. You're not building for now, you're building for forever. And that kind of work takes time, it takes perseverance, it takes humility. But if you keep showing up, keep choosing truth, keep building with values that don't shake, one day the structure of your life will speak for itself. One day the impact you made will be felt in places you never imagined. One day your quiet consistency will be seen for what it really was, not ordinary effort, but eternal construction. When you walk into a room, are you bringing peace or confusion? When people leave your presence, do they feel more hopeful or more defeated? Your presence carries a kind of energy, a kind of spirit that lingers longer than your words. It's not just about what you say, it's about who you are when you show up. Are you someone who encourages others to stand taller, to believe more, to press on even when they feel tired? Or are you someone who makes the air heavier, who drains hope with criticism or selfishness? The truth is, We all leave a residue behind. Every interaction is a moment of influence, and over time, these moments stack up, becoming the weight and worth of your character. That's what people remember, and more importantly, that's what heaven sees. Heaven doesn't care about how loud your life is. It cares about how deep it runs, and that depth shows up in the smallest interactions, the little decisions that reveal the condition of your heart. You don't have to do grand things to live a great life. Some of the most powerful legacies were built by people who never stood on a stage, never made headlines, never had a crowd. What they did have was consistency, kindness, and courage. They raised their families with love. They honored their promises. They spoke with integrity. They made the hard choices when no one was watching. They prayed when no one else believed. They gave when they didn't have much to spare. Those are the lives that last, not because they made noise, but because they made meaning. And that meaning didn't come from some big single moment. It came from a pattern, a rhythm, a lifestyle of intentional living. Each day they decided to sow what they wanted to see grow, not just in their own life, but in the lives of those around them. People often underestimate the ripple effect of one faithful life. One person who chooses to love unconditionally can impact a family for generations. One person who decides to walk in truth, even when it's costly, can shift the culture of an entire workplace. One person who refuses to give up on their calling can light the way for a whole community. You never know who is watching you, who is being shaped by your example, who is finding hope because you didn't quit. Sometimes the seeds you plant with your life won't bloom while you're alive to see them, but they will bloom because nothing rooted in love and truth, in purpose, is ever wasted. Living a life that heaven remembers isn't about being perfect. It's about being aligned with the values that outlast trends, aligned with the voice that calls you to something higher, aligned with the truth that reminds you who you really are. When your internal world is in order, your external world begins to reflect something steady, something grounded, something others can lean on. The people who live like this are often the ones others turn to in crisis. They're the ones who can offer calm in chaos, direction in confusion, strength in weakness. And that ability doesn't come from talent, it comes from character. It's built over time through decisions that weren't easy but were right, through moments of wrestling, through seasons of silence, through choosing discipline over desire. Your actions shape more than your outcomes. They shape your soul. The way you choose to respond to disappointment, the way you carry yourself when you succeed, the way you treat those who can't return the favor. These moments may seem small, but they're sacred because they form the building blocks of who you are. And over time, that becomes the message your life speaks. Not the words you say in public, but the example you set in private. Not the image you project, but the integrity you live. That's what makes a life worthy of remembrance. That's what causes heaven to take note, not perfection, but alignment, devotion, humility, and courage. You have a limited number of days on this earth, and none of them are guaranteed. The question is not just how many days you'll live, but how much life you'll put into each day. Will your days be filled with things that disappear or things that endure? Will you fill them with comparison, distraction, and performance, or with purpose, presence, and principle? That's a decision only you can make. And it's not made once, it's made again and again, in every situation, in every interaction, in every crossroad where you can choose comfort or conviction. That's where your life is being written, not in the big moments, but in the small ones that seem insignificant at the time. And the people who live with that awareness don't waste their influence. They know their words have weight, so they speak life. They know their time is precious, so they use it wisely. They know their energy matters, so they give it to what counts. They understand that their life is not just about their own story, it's part of a bigger one. And when you live that way, you don't just leave memories, you leave meaning. You don't just live for success, you live for significance. You don't just build a reputation, you build a legacy, one that reaches higher than this world. One that heaven never forgets. The world may celebrate success, but heaven celebrates surrender. The world might reward you. You're not just here to consume, to exist, to get by. You're here to build, to plant, to shine, to serve, to lead, to love. You were created with a purpose woven deep into your soul, and every breath you take is an opportunity to lean into that purpose with intention. This life isn't random, and neither is your place in it. You have been given a specific set of gifts, but perspectives and challenges, not by accident, but by design. And when you begin to recognize that your life is not only about your comfort, but also about your contribution, everything begins to shift. Your decisions start to matter in new ways. Your actions start to carry a new weight. You stop living for what's easy and start living for what's meaningful. You stop chasing what looks good and start building what does good. That's the turning point between drifting through life and building a life that heaven will remember. When you wake up each day, you're given a blank page. You can fill it with distraction, with worry, with selfishness, or you can fill it with intention, with service, with truth. And the truth is, no one else can write your story for you. People can influence you. Circumstances can shape you, but the pen is still in your hand. What will you do with your time, your energy, your influence? Will you build walls to protect your comfort, or will you build bridges to reach others? Will you use your voice to tear down or to build up? These questions are not always easy to answer, but they are essential because your answers form the framework of the life you're building. And one day that life will stand as a testimony to what you valued most. Sometimes people wait for a big opportunity to step into purpose, but purpose is found in how you show up in the small things. It's in how you treat people when no one's watching. It's in how you respond to inconvenience. It's in how you manage your time when you think no one will notice. That's where real character is formed. That's where legacy begins, and while those small things might not bring instant results or public recognition, they're the bricks that build a strong life. They're the unseen efforts that one day make a visible difference. When you learn to value the small, you become trusted with the great. When you master the quiet moments, you gain the strength to stand in the loud ones. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you can't see. And every time you bring light instead of judgment, compassion instead of criticism, kindness instead of control, you become part of someone's healing. You become part of someone's hope. That kind of influence can't be measured in likes or shares or trophies. It's measured in changed lives and restored hearts and strengthened minds. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need a stage to speak truth. You don't need recognition to create impact. You just need to be willing to